A mystery, this one. I'd sent it back to the owner earlier in the year. He told me that he got it. He couldn't access the apertures between f4 and f2.8. So I said, well, I don't really know what's happened there, but send it back. I'll see what I'll sort it out. But when I look at here, when I move my aperture setting, it moves between f4 and f2.8 fine. And when I look in at the back of the camera to see what the blades are doing, they're clearly opening and closing too. So, it's a little bit of a mystery. I'm not sure what happened here. One possibility is that a screw has come loose and is stopping the lever from moving at the back of the shutter. That's certainly something I'll have to investigate, but I can't reproduce the fault. Well, I think I'll have to remove the shutter and have a close look at it. Let's have a quick look here. Well, there are no loose screws at the front at the back there that could possibly catch on something. And that moves smoothly throughout its range. I can't see a fault. Remove that rear lens group so you can see closely. That is f2.8 there. It won't move beyond that point. That's as far as the aperture opens on a Retina IIc camera. There's no point at opening to the f2 position, because not only wouldn't it be marked, but the lenses are limited in the amount of aperture that they can deal to anyway. Well, that's a mystery, because that appears to work fine. Well, I'm going to have to think about this one before I send it back to the other side of the planet. I want an understanding of what's happened here. I thought there may be some physical object was blocking the movement down here. I thought perhaps a screw had become adrift and fallen into that space, but there's no screw. And there's no obvious problem here either. The focus mount behind this front coupling ring here, that's all hidden behind the focus scale ring, so even had a screw head come loose there, it might have potentially caused a problem on the focus scale ring, causing it to rub. But there's no way that would interfere with the action of that aperture setting lever. I thought at one stage perhaps he'd simply got this disconnected. That this was disconnected from the aperture here, that little tab. Of course you can lift it back over and connect it just like that. I don't know what could have happened there. Set that to the middle of the range. There you go. It should turn all the way through all the apertures. And it does. I wonder whether it had the EV set all over one way. Set the EV to something like, let's say set it to there, which would be EV15, and then was expecting the aperture to move to f2.8 while it's staying fixed at the same EV value, which of course can't happen. That's the only thing that comes to mind, is that the person had this, doesn't understand how the EV setting works, had set it to a high EV value, so of course when the shutter speed dial comes round to its upper limit, which is obviously 500th of a second, it'll only go as far as f4. This is with the EV value set at 13. If you wanted f500 at f2.8, you would have to shift this to a different EV value. You would shift it round to 12. And perhaps the person didn't understand that. I suspect, looking at this now, that that's what's happened. That the owner, who'd never used the camera, doesn't understand how EV values work. That an EV value means that the aperture settings and the shutter speed settings are coupled together, and obviously you can only move to the limit of either range. You can't move beyond full aperture, you can't move beyond closed down all the way, you can't move faster than the fastest shutter speed, you can't move slower than the slower shutter speed. So if you set the EV value at one of the extremes of the range, something's going to be limited in its travel. I think that's what the thing is, and the only winner out of this one is the combined post offices of the world. Oh well, you win some and you lose some. Well, that camera repair job was a waste of time because nothing needed to be repaired. Anyway, have a look at all these little wee birdies I've got here. These are wax eyes or silver eyes, and they are nectar feeders, and here they are enthusiastically consuming sugar water from a feeder in the tree. They'll also eat other foods, quite a variety. One of the other things, oh, that was a tui coming in to chase everybody away. The tui's on that orange coloured feed around at the back. As soon as he turns up, everybody else scatters. The tui is a nectar feeder, and I don't know that they ever get into anything else. Very interesting song, the tui. May sing for us after he's finished sucking up a bit of sugar water. He's heading back up the tree, the wax eyes will be back. One of the other things that the wax eyes like is fat, dripping in this case. Beef and mutton dripping. You put a big slab of that in that little pagoda thing there, and they busy themselves over the next few days carving it away into interesting shapes. They've now got it right down to the bedrock, so there won't be much shape left in that, but they usually carve them away to an interesting sort of a shape. Alright, back to work. This won't buy baby a dress.